Hello friends and fellow bibliophiles, welcome back to Kat's Novel Adventures. Today I'm sharing everything that I read in the month of November. During the month of November, I participated in 2 readathons and 1 book club. As for my reading stats, I completed a total of 5 books. And I say completed because one of the books that I finished in November, I had actually started in the beginning of the year. It was one of the selections for the Cozy Cottage Book Club. As far as my ratings, I had 2 4 stars and 3 5 stars. For the Montgomery challenge, I had high hopes that I would read a couple of books written by L.M. Montgomery. This month-long readathon was hosted by Mitzi at Mitzi Reads and Writes, Elizabeth at Lizzie Faye Loves Books, and Sonia at Sonia with an I. Sadly, I only completed 1 book, but thankfully, the book that I read, I enjoyed immensely. And that book is Anne of Windy Poplars. This is the 4th book in the Anne of Green Gables series. In this chapter of Anne's life, she accepts a principal's position at Summerside High School. Over a course of 3 years, she writes several letters to her beau Gilbert that are interspersed throughout the story. As with the other Anne books that I have read, I really enjoyed this one. There is a large cast of unforgettable characters. I love the exploration of friendship and community and develops some wonderful friendships throughout the story. I also love that Anne has a gift for dealing with difficult people and challenging situations. I love Ellen Montgomery's writing. It is so beautiful, and Anne surely continues to be one of my favorite literary characters. I ended up giving this charming and heartfelt story 5 stars. The other readathon that I participated in was Nonfiction November. This is a month-long readathon hosted by Olive at A Book Olive. I had 4 books on my Nonfiction November TBR. They were all on my 24 for 2024 list. I only got to 2. However, I did finish one of the books that I had started with the Cozy Cottage Book Club earlier in the year. It was a nonfiction book. It was a diary, and that diary is The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady by Edith Holden. This journal is Holden's nature notes over the course of 1 year in 1906. It includes several observations of the natural world of the English countryside, beautiful watercolor illustrations, poetry, plus the origin, feast days, and mottos for each month of the year. As a scrapbooker and a nature lover, I was instantly captivated by Edith Holden's diary. I can only imagine the time, care, and love that went into creating it. This journal actually has inspired me to pay more attention of the natural world around me, and it has also sparked interest again in scrapbooking. I'm a scrapbooker and I want to do more scrapbooking. So I've already started thinking of some things I'm going to do to incorporate more scrapbooking in my life in 2025. This was another 5-star read for me. My next nonfiction book is How to Be Perfect, the Correct Answer to Every Moral Question by Michael Shore. I am so excited that I finally got to this book because it was gifted to me by my friend Simon a couple of years ago, and it also happens to be one of my 24 books for 2024. This is a practical, humorous, and relatively easy to understand guide to moral philosophy. I'll be honest with you, philosophy is not my jam. It is very hard for me to digest. However, I love the TV show, The Good Place, which is centered around ethics. So that's why I wanted to read this book. Like the TV series, Michael Shore does a great job of presenting the complexity of moral philosophy in an easy to understand way that is also entertaining. Also, I think the audiobook helped, which I listened to in tandem with reading the physical copy. Michael Shore narrates, and he is joined by the cast of The Good Place, as well as the philosophy professor Todd May that helped him with some of the philosophy components of the book. And as a happiness boost, Geddy Lee of one of my favorite bands, Rush, reads the lyrics to, not all of the lyrics, but a couple of the lyrics from his song Free Will, which is one of the examples that Shore uses in the book. I thought that was such a treat. Shore not only addresses moral dilemmas studied by philosophers from back in the day, but he also includes a few that are basic and relevant that we might face today. After reading How to Be Perfect, it confirmed for me that I will never be perfect and that we all have room for self-improvement. However, it has caused me to pause a little bit longer when I am facing an ethical dilemma. You know, sometimes they pop up from time to time. I really do like his example of putting back the cart that you use when you're shopping like at Target or Walmart. I always return my cart to the buggy corral, but it raises some questions. You know, are you taking someone's job away from them, or are you being nice? Like, what is the most ethical thing to do? But we are not going to be perfect. And some of these philosophies are really stringent and would be very difficult. And sometimes I think they almost set you up for failure. But you know, when you know better, you do better, and it just guides us to make good and better moral decisions. Now, one thing I will mention, piggybacking on some of his moral dilemmas that he brings up for present day, Shore does insert some of his own political and social views, and that could possibly ruffle a few feathers. It did not hinder my overall enjoyment of this book. I mean, his digs were far and few between. So I kind of think of it as like possibly hitting a small pothole in a otherwise perfectly paved road. I ended up giving How to Be Perfect 4 stars. My last nonfiction book that I read is also off of my 24 books for 2024, and that is All Creatures Great and Small by James Herriot. This is a heartwarming memoir about a young veterinarian's adventures in the Yorkshire Dales of England during the 1930s. I am an animal lover, and I considered becoming a vet myself at one time. So this was pure delight to read about James Herriot's experiences. Even though most of the stories are humorous and heartwarming, there are a couple that were heartbreaking, and I teared up a few times. I think that James Herriot was a wonderful veterinarian. He did a terrific job caring for the animals. He was also a pretty cool human being, and I love the way he captured the connection between the animals and their owners. Like I said, very delightful. I heard that they have a television series that's just as entertaining as this book, so I'm gonna have to check that out in the future. And I'd also like to read more of his memoirs about his career as a veterinarian. I ended up giving this one 5 stars. The last book I want to share with you is the book that I read for the Middle Grade March Book Club, and that is Simon Sorta Says by Erin Bow. This is a middle grade realistic fiction novel that follows 12-year-old Simon O'Keefe and his parents as they move to Grin and Barrett, a little town in Nebraska. They're all hoping for a fresh start in the wake of a tragedy. There is no internet in this small town, so Simon feels pretty confident that he's going to be able to fly under the radar. I think that Erin Bow did a remarkable job of writing about the after effects in the aftermath of a school shooting. She balances a serious topic with humor that really lightens the mood. I really loved the quirkiness of the town as well as some of its residents, and I also loved the friendships that Simon developed with Agate and Kevin. Now, I will say that I thought it was a tad bit too long, but it effectively blends heart and heartbreak as well as humor and hope, and I ended up giving this book 4 stars. Well, friends, that's a wrap on another month of reading. Even though I did not get to read all of the books that I planned for November, the ones that I did get to read were terrific. And I did get to read more Montgomery and a few nonfiction, so I'm pretty happy about that. What about you? What did you get up to during November? Did you participate in Nonfiction November or the More Montgomery Challenge? Let me know in the comments below. You know I love to know what you got up to. As always, thank you so much for watching. I am so grateful for you and appreciate you stopping by. Until our paths cross again, though, stay amazing and be adventurous.